I'll watch this recap of this game later, not now. Also, a recap of that. Every time I go on YouTube, I find something that I want to watch, you know? Even this. I guess I'll have to watch that later. We'll see. I'm not gonna just keep stacking videos after videos and I'll just be here forever. Let me go live, make sure we have the people that are here. You're gonna have to excuse my voice here today. Anybody that's here, I appreciate you guys for taking the time out of your day. But you're gonna have to excuse my voice because I spent um, 4 hours, 4 hours straight yelling, kind of at the top of my lungs. For the first two games, I was yelling more than the other games because my daughter was playing on the team, so I was excited. But then the other two games, I was just excited about the competition. It was good competition. Spelled that wrong. No, that's not right. There we go. All right, subscribers only. 1 minute. Yeah, a lot of people, as I was thinking about it, for Bitcoin, a lot of people underestimate the value of sorry, not Bitcoin. A lot of people underestimate the value of XRP. I can say the statement a million times and it will always get a debate really started on XRP even being able to catch up to Bitcoin's market cap. And I think in due time you will see that. You're not going to see it in a matter of one day, right? You may see it in a matter of multiple years. But for something that can hold and will hold more weight than and more use than what Bitcoin and honestly any other cryptocurrency in the market, that's kind of what fuels that discussion and fuels that conversation. Um, because it is real, right? And it does get people irritated because Bitcoin is Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is huge. It's a $2 trillion market cap. And while that is true, why is it a $2 trillion market cap? Um, Scarcity, people believing that there's well, not believing, knowing there's only a finite amount of Bitcoin that's out there and the amount that you can mine, and the more years that go by, um, the less well, I guess the more that will be mined overall, but the less rewards that you will be able to get. You know what I mean? So it makes it more scarce in how much you can gain, how much you could obtain. And it's going to take more and more energy to gather the same amount of Bitcoin that you wanted, right? If you have a mining rig that's going to give you 10 Bitcoin per year at this current rate, it may be a completely different situation for the next 4 years after that, right? Where you have instead of 10, you're now getting 5 because it's halved. Right now, you have to up your mining rig in order to get 10 again. Um, Obviously, as you go along, if you increase your mining rig or rig and invest into your mining rig, you can get a lot more. Or if you just stay with whatever you have and just continue to get halved, either way, you're going to gain a lot in Bitcoin. There, it's just the energy consumption is a lot in order to mine that. For XRP, that's not the case, right? Yes, you do have a certain amount, and Ripple does own that escrow that's there, but there's also the ability to easily establish a reserve without, buying that reserve. Now, it would be great if the governments or, you know, countries did buy their reserves that they wanted. Um, but we will see how that all works out. So I think we take these steps, seeing it at a $30 billion market cap, people questioning that it's not even going to get to you know, back to a $50 billion market cap. And there's no way that's going to get back to $100 billion market cap. And boy, did it break that expectation, getting to not only 100, but 100 and 50 billion, 200 billion, surpassing that 200 billion mark. And we know that it has a lot of room after that. You know, again, bear with my voice because I was yelling for 4 hours straight yesterday um, with all the basketball games that were going on. It was so exciting. Like, I mean, very, very excited. There was a game that where the fifth and sixth grade girls were playing, and they won by 1 point with some really, really solid defense on a sixth grade girl that was 6'3". She was in sixth grade and she was 6'3". Luckily, on our team, we did have a girl that's like, I believe she's like 5'10" or 5'11". But the girl that was 6'3", I can't say that she didn't have like basketball skills, but she didn't have all the fundamentals to make her as dominant as she should be. So that was probably a good thing because she was getting boxed out, and when she was putting up shots, she was just keeping it high and shooting it rather than doing any type of post moves. Um, but it was just easy for her because she would just get the rebound. So, anyways, I was just yelling for 4 hours straight. So, Harper's team won. The team I'm coaching won. The other team lost by 1 point, which is unfortunate because they have the talent. It was just a matter of getting all that together. So, and I think within the next couple of games, things will be really, really good. We have another game this Saturday. Two more games this Saturday. In the second game, Harper scored 16 points out of 22. In the first game, she scored 4. So yeah, just to let y'all know, I'm very excited, very happy with what she was able to do. She was showing me she was using her left hand. I was just so excited. Um, Hi, how you doing? Hey, what's going on? Good morning, Matt. Good morning, Joey Rez. Thank you for being here. A hundred billions supply, or sorry, multiply by 100,000 equals how much? What, 100 billion coin supply multiplied by $100,000? That's a lot of money, and that's a huge market cap. Uh, at certain points, they can say market cap doesn't matter. I'm a big fan of market cap, so I'm never gonna go, oh, market cap doesn't matter, right? I think market cap definitely matters to investors. As we are gathering that, market cap surely matters. Market cap surely matters to institutional investors, into retail investors, into um, any of the funds, banks. It matters at the moment. In the end, when we talk about how the use case can be the use case, yes, we can kind of bypass that in a way. But investors will always, always care about what that market cap is, especially compared to the higher market caps that are there. Now, it starts to get a little bit more of like we start to discuss whether it truly does matter above where we are, because let's say XRP does take over where Bitcoin is. That's where market cap now is everything that we go above that is unexplored, right? It's uncharted waters, which means that it has the ability to get there, but we just haven't seen any cryptocurrency get there yet. Does that make sense? So when Bitcoin is sitting at a $1 trillion market cap, we don't say that Bitcoin can't get to a $2 trillion market cap, because of what we know of what can be. We haven't seen it. Well, we've seen it recently, but let's say when it was at a $1 trillion market cap, we haven't seen a $2 trillion market cap. So getting there was, unexplored territory, but we know that it can definitely get there, right? We believe that it can get there. It's not a ridiculous statement to say that Bitcoin can be worth $2 trillion. Just like I don't think it's a ridiculous statement to say that XRP can be worth 2, 3, 4, 5, even $10 trillion, because we're talking about something like a Bitcoin or Ethereum or a BNB. While some of them do have a use case, XRP has so much more potential to be utilized, especially when you just look at the US as a US cryptocurrency, as the fight that Ripple went through and how much they believe in XRP. So I think it can be massive. Give me 1 second. Let me make sure I have this up here. There we go. I don't want to keep that up. XRP has a supply issue, which makes it worthless. What do you mean XRP has a supply issue? Tell me why it has a supply issue. Great show, Matt. Been following you since GameStop and AMC pump and dump. Yeah, I mean, the GameStop and AMC situation, they both had massive jumps, but that's something you kind of live and learn by, because for GME, if I was a major part of that run, which I wasn't, I saw a decent size increase and made a little bit of money from, but it was never to the extent that it should have been, right? Because I wanted to stick to one. If I saw the money that you would have been able to gain from GameStop in that situation, I would have saw what happened with AMC and probably have taken more profit at the $80 level rather than sit on it. Because, not to say that AMC doesn't have the ability or didn't have the ability to run to ridiculous levels, because it did, especially with the short squeeze. It's the fact that hedge funds have so much money and so much of a bailout that they would never let it get to some of these crazy prices. They would just double down, triple down, quadruple down, and just continue until we fall off, right? They are one person basically. Yes, they have a bunch of money that's being invested there, but they are essentially one person with a lot of money, and they can make their decision by saying, look, I'm stingy, sitting on it, right? And they can keep investing because they have basically endless money, and they get bailed out if something horrible happens. For us, if half of us break down and we decide to give up on things, now we only have half that's kind of left and still trying to fight this fight. And I think hedge funds know, hedge fund managers know that without if they add time into the scenario, into the equation, we start to fall off because people are getting impatient. People that wanted quick money, that wanted the largest amounts of money, and see any type of a drop will get impatient, creating selling pressure, creating what they want. And then they start, looking at their short squeezes and again, or their short situations and continue to double down. It's a huge situation that they would never let it get to its maximum level, which means that hedge funds absolutely collapse because uh, our government won't let it get to that point. Our banks won't let it get to that point. So they have everybody larger money and higher status on their side to kind of push this a lot further for them. And then for us, we're kind of sitting on failure in a way. So seeing the $80 price point, if I would have been able to explore that GME situation that happened going from single dollars up to $500, I would have done the same thing with um, AMC, because I would have made a good $150,000 from it. Um, but I gauge that situation differently because I didn't experience what happened with GME. Now, I still hold 1,000 shares of AMC because I said I will always do it. I made I made $16,000 from, well, got my initial investment back, and that's what started my crypto journey. So I'm very, very grateful for that. But I could have made $150,000. I could have also went to my crypto journey at that time. Um, I don't think it would have. I think it would have went straight to my student loans, and I wouldn't have thrown that all into crypto. But still, it gave me the opportunity. Um, Crypto is finished. Exit while you still can before it's too late. So I don't think that's the case. You think crypto is just not going to be utilized, that it's a market that had multiple trillions that's invested into it and multiple billions a day that's invested into it. Um, and that's going to be worth nothing. That you have institutions that are investing into cryptocurrency, you have ETFs that are being created, you have banks that are being a part of that, you have countries that are being a part of it, you have utilization that's happening across the board, you have XRP that's being utilized in banks as well as cross-border payments, you have just so many things that crypto is being implemented into, and you're saying that crypto is just completely dead. That's a false statement. um, yes, you may see bear markets, you may see a drop, um, you may see some cryptocurrencies that are meme coins and all that that fall um, off a cliff for sure. But there's so much that's positive towards crypto, and people underestimate it. And the people that do underestimate it, there's two types of people. People that are secretly invested into crypto and have a small amount in the crypto, and they're like, I'm gonna make so much money out of this, and they took their profit, whatever their profit they had. And then there's people that truly don't believe in crypto and won't hold crypto. Either way, you are going to miss out on a boatload of gains. Looking for these returns, looking for uses, looking for being a part of something that's much, much bigger. Um, because what I look at it as, and you can look at it however you want, right? You are your own investor, you are your own person. Um, I can invest in whatever I want because I'm my own person, right? I'm my own investor. Um, so the way that I look at it as, I look at these sectors and markets that have exploded without me, that have been worth so much more without me. And some I didn't have the chance to invest into. The internet, I didn't have a chance to really throw money into that. As the internet was moving up, and as things were getting developed into where they are today, I didn't necessarily have, money like 2 decades ago, right? A decade ago, yeah, I had a little bit. I was, in college and, just getting out of college basically, and, finding my job, finding my situation, getting married, having children, right? I'm looking at all of that and doing all of that, which all cost money uh, to an extent where it's like, it's a lot, right? College, you're paying tens of thousands of dollars. Marriage, as where you get married now, is just ridiculously expensive. But then it was still expensive. I think my our wedding cost like 15 to 20 bands. Like it was a lot at that time because I didn't have 15 or $20,000. Then we bought a house, which down payment we only paid like 5%. Wasn't the best money situation to put down, but we wanted a house. We wanted a place that, especially during that time, we were like the costs of houses are going to go up, and we were right, right? I mean, it skyrocketed. um, the value of our house is double what we paid for it, which was 10 years ago. So I'm extremely grateful for that. And we continue to add more to kind of take away from the interest. And we also gain a lot more in the markets. But either way, um, I looked at the internet and I wish I would have been able to invest into some of those companies in those beginning stages. If I had money in, I don't know, 2000, if I had money in like the 2000s, right? So 2005 or something, I would have invested into a lot of different companies. Now, the time when I really started investing long term was when crypto really exploded, which was around the 2019 to 2020 area where I started to have, or a year where I started to have more and more money. But 2020, the markets absolutely exploded. So I needed to wait for some sort of a little retracement, which we did have. And then I started to kind of enter the markets for the long term. Now, I've always had my long term investments, but I think I wanted to establish something, a dividend um, account, a traditional IRA, which I have started, and I have a new traditional IRA here that I want to manage and show people growing over 30 years. But this is that play, right? Crypto is that play where it's a sector that many people don't believe in, they question, but banks, institutions, ETFs are being created. So many different things are leading to this being a bigger part of our economy, at least the US, right? You can say the world economy as well, but it's being a bigger part of our economy and economies. Um, and with that being said, it's creating more and more of an impact every single bull market and altcoin season that we see, to an extent that we saw a $3 trillion market cap at the peak of the last altcoin season. And now we're seeing a $3 trillion market cap, which altcoin season hasn't even happened yet. Bitcoin got to a $2 trillion market cap. BNB got to, 100 plus, almost even a $200 billion market cap. XRP got to some of those prices. Solana got to about 100, what was it, 130, 120, $130 billion market cap. But then you scroll down the list and you see other things like a Litecoin. Litecoin hasn't gotten to its all-time high or broken past that point. I think it still has a lot of life and light left in it. You see what I did there? AVAX should be a lot higher, worth a lot more with the chain and the activity that's happening on it as well. You look at Kronos. Kronos should be definitely at a value of $1, if not more than that, with everything that they offer. Yes, you don't see a lot of volume in that right now. It has its strength by the amount that's being held and staked. And many others that are coming up on the scene. You could say, some meme coins as well, but I like to look at more of the utility projects rather than just looking at meme coins. Meme coins will bring a lot more attention into it and gains and conversation, but there's a lot of utility that's across the board that still hasn't seen these high points yet. So if we haven't even experienced an altcoin season yet, where Ethereum can create a brand new all-time high. And we're not talking about dollars over the previous high. We're talking about hundreds or thousands of dollars over the previous high. Double or triple what that price was at the last altcoin season. If we haven't seen that, then altcoin season hasn't happened yet, right? And we are all just sitting here waiting for that to happen. But I really can't say exactly when that will happen, and it's going to happen when we least expect it. When it does, everybody that said, you know what, crypto is dead, I'm getting out of crypto right now, while they made their gains and they should be happy with their gains, they will also go, I should have held, I should have believed in this more. And even through this bull market, altcoin season into bear market, there's still going to be people that say the same thing. I should have held my Ethereum, I should have held my XRP through the bear market, because when you look at it with 100,000-foot view, the trend line is going to be like this, right? Trend line is going to increase. I'm going the opposite way, so the way that you see it is like that. So you want it to go from left to right. I'm over here from left to right this way, so it's kind of reversed. But either way, you want to see it. You want to see the line go up like this. You want to see that go like that. But right now, what you're seeing is it go like this, right? Where you see the ups, you see the downs, you see the larger increases, the larger retracements back down to a bottom, or even create a lower bottom, but then ultimately look like they're going up like that. That's what you want to see. And when you look back, you take a step back, 100,000-foot view, 200,000-foot view, you're going to see it, right? I'm excited for it. No matter how other people feel, Anybody can literally say anything about how they feel about cryptocurrency, but your strength in what you hold and what you believe in comes from you, and it should come from you. You get a second opinion, hear what people have to say. If they believe crypto is going to decrease and be worth nothing, then you can take that into consideration, whatever information they give you. But your investments are your investments, and you're the one that's going to have to look back and go, I should have held my cryptocurrency. Do you want to be that person that sold 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 pizzas? I don't. I want to be that person that maybe I wanted to test the market and go, okay, you know what? I'm going to sell, whatever, 90% of what I have for these 2 pizzas. Still regretting that decision. However, you still left 1,000 on the table and just left it wherever you wanted to leave it. Now you go back to it and it's worth millions of dollars. We're talking about multiple millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. That's the decision that you want to make, right? It doesn't mean that you give up on whatever you were going to make or whatever you're going to do to show that it has some sort of use case to it, but believe in something for the long term if you believed in it in the first place. Don't let someone else talk you out of it. No one will ever talk me out of what I own. No one. And that's what gives me my strength. That's what got me to where I am today, is the fact that anybody in the chat can come through. Look, you got was Vince Cinnamon, which is a great name, by the way, comes through and says crypto is finished. This guy is like a hopeless romantic. See, you have people like that where you can have a comment. That's where you have to be strong when you're on the internet, because there are a ton of I've seen the worst comments possible. But you have people like that come through and say crypto is finished, you're hopeless, all of this other stuff, right? But then when you do see success, those people are gone. XRP goes from a level of 30 cents to 50 cents, and many people go, it's done, it's finished, it's never going to be worth anything, it's going to go to zero, you're going to lose all your money, all of that stuff, to now it gets up to 80 cents. Okay, well, it's just going to retrace because that's what it does. Oh, then it gets to $1. Oh, wait, it passed $1. Now people are going to sell. Right? They're looking at it as a meme coin. Wait, but then it passed $1.50? Hold up. I may be wrong on this, right? Then it passed $2, passed $3, gets up to close to the all-time high, and those people are absolutely silent and say nothing, right? They are nowhere to be found. Because in that case, you're right. And you made potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe even millions of dollars. It's crazy. It's crazy to me. But yeah, I just wanted to, call that out. So believe in yourself if you're investing into something, Let me go back up to the top because the chat kept moving. Blah, 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 blah. Great show, Matt. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Are you sure XRP will be worth more than Bitcoin? Should I start accumulating XRP as I have only 615 XRP? That's very less. I'm sad for that. So you shouldn't be sad for how much XRP that you have. When I say XRP is going to be worth more than Bitcoin, I don't mean by the price, right? Because Bitcoin has a much lower supply. It has a 21 million total supply. And knowing that, you have the ability to get to a lot higher price, right? For BTC. For XRP, it has 100 billion total supply with 60 billion that's out there in circulation. So with it having a B instead of an M, right? Billion versus million, you know that the prices are not going to be there. But however, market cap, I think that XRP has a much larger use case than what Bitcoin does have. Bitcoin is a store of value. You're looking at it similar to gold, and you're kind of gauging the value off of the scarcity as well as people knowing that Bitcoin really runs the market. Eventually, Bitcoin will not run the market. It will be 20%, and you'll probably see XRP up in the range of that 50%. And then other things that are also coming up being worth hundreds of billions of dollars as well. I truly believe XRP will be worth more than Bitcoin market cap wise. Should you accumulate more XRP? That is totally up to you. It is currently at $2. I think it will be worth a lot more than $2. But again, you shouldn't be upset about having any XRP, because as it does grow, and as it does get to, sometimes it could be maybe unexplainable levels. That's where you start gaining a lot of that value at 615 XRP that you do have versus, having even less, right? Because I have not only tens of thousands, I have hundreds of thousands of XRP. I've been able to accumulate a lot over time. And I'm very grateful to have that much. And what I have for my forever crypto balance, or my forever XRP balance, is 10,000 XRP. So it's always great to accumulate something that you do believe in for the long term. And I think if you are going to be that person that believes in it for the long term, you have to make sure that you do your own research to see where the value comes from and how much you can believe in it. Because if you just hear from me, it's just another person on the internet that told you they believed XRP is going to be worth more than Bitcoin. For you to go and do that research, it holds a lot more weight, right? Holds a ton more weight, because then you're like, I looked at it myself, right? If someone told you that like if you had your eyes closed and someone told you that the sky was green, would you believe it, right? Probably not. I mean, it depends where you are, right? You see Northern Lights and all that. So, but it's if they told you that the sky was green, would you believe it? Probably not. But if you see it for yourself, right, it makes you understand and see that, yeah, the sky is actually green, right? And now you can tell people, now you can believe in that. Gold and silver is pumping hard. I haven't checked it, but that's amazing. I'm not invested into gold or silver. I know some people that are, and they're very, very excited about all of the growth that they've been able to see. And I'm excited for them. I wish I was into a ton of markets. I wish I was into real estate more. I wish I was into, gold and silver and all that. But I've been, sticking to kind of two different areas at the moment. Eventually, I will branch out probably more to real estate. I don't think I will to gold. Um, but then again, I've said that in the past, and I've explored those markets, especially with crypto. I was never a full believer in cryptocurrency because I never researched it. And then I started to do some research into just simple things, right? The top cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum. And then obviously when I saw CRO and everything they were doing, I was like, that's a no-brainer. When I got into XRP, I was just like, everything that I read, everything that I researched, it was just it for me. I study XRP so much, and I just don't understand how it could possibly grow to $1,000. The argument that says market cap does not play a role here still makes no sense to me. Can you explain? So for $1,000, right? My level that I believe it should hold value at and kind of stay steady at is more or less $100. That's kind of what I'm looking for. But if you had the argument to say that it can be worth up to that $1,000, let's look at a simple scenario, right? And it's going to be tough to do without actually having a spreadsheet here to kind of break everything down. So bear with me when it comes to the numbers. But let's say that we're looking for a cryptocurrency that can be utilized in a way of just buying things, right? Buying things in the world. We look at it taking over the U.S. dollar. The U.S. dollar by itself, I think, has what, $2 trillion in circulation. This is just for one country here. $2 trillion in circulation. If we wanted to take over like that, just like we wanted Bitcoin, that means that for XRP to get to a $2 trillion market cap, to take over the circulation of monies, right? We would be looking at what, a $20 to $40 price point. Just trying to throw it out there. Let me go ahead and see, just to get a gauge, because we currently have 60 billion coins in supply. if we saw a $2 trillion market cap, um, it would be at about a 100, let's see, 100, sorry, a $100 price point would be a $2 trillion market cap. That sound about right? Maybe that's not right. This math might be off. But that's what it's showing on my spreadsheet. So let's just go with that. $100 price point would be at a $2 trillion market cap. Because let me do the math, because it's not adding up for me. So it's currently at a $2 price point at a 100. Let's round down at a $100 billion market cap. So as we grow up 5 times, $500 billion market cap, we're really looking at a $10 price point. $1 trillion market cap would be a $20 price point. It should be a $40 price point. I don't know why that's popping up that way. So $40, let's say it's at that point. That would mean that just for the US circulating money would get to a $40 price point to get to a $2 trillion market cap, even though there's more than that in circulation. We're talking about the world currency to be able to utilize that. And also, we have to factor in not just the amount that's in circulation, because if we have 60 billion that's in circulation, or even 100 billion that's in circulation, there's a certain amount that's being held for a store of value. There's a certain amount that's being held, you know, as potential uses for companies, for hedge funds, for banks, which you can also classify as a store of value. So a certain amount that's not being utilized in the end. You have a large market of cross-border payments, utilizing it for the ability for imports and exports because it's so quick and so efficient. If we're talking about finding ways to bypass the simple banking system that we have now. So the banking system that we have now, it all function off of the kind of the not honor system, but everything's pending, right? So if you try and spend $1 and spend it at, I don't know, a grocery store, you sending that dollar to the grocery store, now in that process is pending. It goes from one bank to another, but you see it as instantaneous. It happened right now. However, it didn't. It may take a couple of days for that to truly happen. And with cryptocurrency, you sending that, it can happen within seconds. With XRP, it can happen within seconds. With Bitcoin, it may take minutes, right? And depending on the situation, right, you might not be able to, send whatever Bitcoin you're trying to send, or it may take a very long time for that to take place. XRP, it's going to happen within seconds. So now no longer do you have that pending status, and you have instantaneous, transactions that are happening. So there's various scenarios that can push this to other levels, but getting to higher levels of like $1,000 or $10,000 depends on like inside and outside sources to kind of push this to that next level, meaning government impacts, meaning a reserve that's being held, taking that completely out of circulation for multiple countries, or also including that store value. And, I understand where you're coming from. It may seem just ridiculous. I don't think that market cap doesn't matter. I think market cap does matter. In the end, you're going to look at it and go, okay, unexplored, but market cap for me still matters in what we can get to and what people can see. Oh, hey, it's at a $10 trillion market cap. Okay, investors are going to look at that differently than somebody that's holding it to be able to utilize it. So I know it may be tough to see, but I look at all of the levels beforehand and then kind of inch my way up to what that can be, because there are scenarios where this can be worth not only $1,000 but $10,000, and I'm not trying to fully throw all of my eggs in that basket. I think that's the phrase. I'm not trying to throw all of what I own into that mindset because there's so much room for growth before that. However, 5% of what I own is kind of invested into that basket, right? I'm not throwing all of it in there, but I have some set aside for what could be. And when I'm set to accept what that could be does that make sense? I will accept that. So they say it does get to $1,000. It does get to $10,000, and I have 1,000 or 10,000 coins in my possession in my long-term, forever crypto accounts. What do I do with that? Maybe I sell it at that point. Maybe I still hold on to it. But that's why I have some set aside so I can make that decision when that time comes to it. But right now, I have a large amount that's sitting outside of my cold storage, and we want to see that grow to other levels. Besides mass adoption, there's also the question that banks and countries are making their own coin instead of trusting a foreign coin. So it's not really about uh, 100% trust in that manner. I think it's more about um, what words am I looking for? More about a proof of concept in a way. And even if they are making their own coins, coins function off of popularity. You can make your own coins, and you can have a different company or country that does make their own coins. But if everything's being communicated or sent back and forth with the easiest process already there, you might as well adopt it. Especially, yes, it is a foreign created coin, but once the volume gets into circulation, it is fair game between all countries, right? However, yes, Ripple, an American company, does own majority of that escrow, and maybe Ripple decides to look at it and go, which you never know. Ripple might look at it and go, all right, we have a bag of cryptocurrency here. And if everybody's going to be able to utilize this, we can sell this at the current price or a higher price to various countries to establish their reserve. And then when people utilize this, now we have a reserve in place for this currency. So whether it's Canada or the United States or Mexico or the UK or whatever, right? You then have escrow that the American company sent to you or sold to you so that it can make up that difference for the circulating XRP that's there. Now, prices can depend on how often, how frequent, how much it's being used, but there's a lot of unknowns here. And for me, in my investing history, unknowns is what makes things insanely interesting, especially if they're positive unknowns, where you have so many positive things that can happen and a very small amount of negative things that can happen, right? When you have the CEO in the conversation when it comes to government decisions, when it comes to crypto decisions in government and banking, in institutions, that's something that really is like, they're there. They're there to make that decision. They're there to converse and see how things are being used. And why wouldn't they benefit the cryptocurrency that they created? You know? Oh, the crypto's finished guy. There he is. When in doubt, zoom out. Exactly. I think the Clarity Act will be big. They're supposedly manipulating the price now. I think there is a purposely manipulating the price now. I think there's some truth to that the price is being manipulated to an extent. That you're always going to have some sort of price manipulation. It sucks to say, but when people and institutions and countries, when they have money, you can influence any price. Now, they can't decide if you are going to take out your money or do whatever you want with your money, because you can go in your wallet and sell as much crypto as you want. And then you don't have to worry about that price manipulation. You just have to worry about the inflation of the dollar, because what you own is pegged to that dollar. Um, so yes, you do have that situation. There is manipulation happening because of ETFs and these funds and institutions that are getting involved in crypto in a heavy manner. Um, yeah, there's a lot of manipulation because there's a lot of money there. We're talking about billions of dollars going into a Bitcoin ETF, billions of dollars going into an Ethereum ETF. For sure, there's manipulation there, and there will always be that when you have large amounts of money. But we are not at a point to where the market is being completely manipulated yet. Um, but the more ETFs that we have, that single ETFs, the more manipulation we can see into an individual position. If they're all encompassing ETFs, then we see kind of a stabilization of the market, and we can kiss all of the like huge growth goodbye. I've said this, once we see all encompassing ETFs have a massive inflow of money into them, um, we'll see a lot more standard growth like we see in the stock market. But you can kiss all of those larger jumps, the 500% increase in one day, you can kiss all of those goodbye, right? Because they're investing in for, the stabilization of that market, the belief in that market, but not for us to just continue to win, you know, meme coin wise. So expect meme coins to be considered like the penny stocks of the market, right? Where yeah, you'll see your gains and everything like that, but it really all depends on what money flow is going in there. You see all of the bigger, hedge fund managers and everything investing into higher tiered utility projects, and then the ones that don't have utility, uh, you're not going to see that level of growth that you wanted to see. Maybe from a small portion, so from a $1 million market cap or $100,000 market cap to a $2 million market cap for sure. But seeing those ones that go from 2 million to now 2 billion, you probably won't see that as the market gets more stabilized, if that makes sense. The tariff stimulus checks will start the altcoin bottom line, bro. I mean, we can say that the stimulus checks before created a lot of interest in the stock market. I can say for sure, and then also into crypto in a small way. The Clarity Act will be big. Let's see. Economic crash is coming. Yeah, it's up to you saying that. Either way, it doesn't matter how I react, or it doesn't matter what happens there. I'm still gonna have the same reaction, which is all price based and price goal based. Bro, read my comment instead of replying to some schmuck. I read your comment. Keep buying assets on their way out. Altcoin season since 2022. Keep buying assets on their way out. So as the people are leaving and going, hey, we don't believe in this, we're selling. Uh, we buy assets at their low prices, because a lot of these altcoins are actually at very low levels. Like I think AVAX at a $13.63 level. That is insanely low for even what we saw AVAX like a year ago. Wasn't it like $30, $40 at one point? And now it's at $13.63. And we're talking about, with Bitcoin up at $90,000. AVAX is down to 13, closer to the low than it is to the high. The only person that is pushing XRP is Jack Claver, and his explanation is not valid. I don't think that's true. Even if it was not about market cap, adoption is a big question as countries are making their own coins and making a banking system. Again, I don't think that's the case. Damn, you got 10. I got barely just wait. I barely just got to 5,000. Yeah, so I have 10 in my my Forever wallet. I have more than that in my active wallets. 10 is just, I mean, you can do the math if you want. 10 is just about 5% for me. And not to like rub it in at all, like I've been able to accumulate as much as I could, and I want to accumulate more and more different cryptocurrencies. I have 2,000 SUI, and I hope that's worth a lot more and grows to multiple billions of dollars. There's always a chance of that. It is at 6 or 7 billion dollars right now. So getting to a $60 billion market cap, getting to a $100 billion market cap, I can see for many of these, you know, use case, I would say, utility coins. Um, the, would you prefer HBAR or XLM as a long-term 2030 hold, or opinions, please? So I currently have a little bit of HBAR. I had XLM a while back, a long time back, before I even had XRP, honestly. And I didn't hold it. I consolidated because I only had like $300 worth, and it wasn't worth $300 after that. So I decided to consolidate what I owned at that point to own at least $300 worth of cryptocurrency overall. Um, Maybe I should have held my XLM a little bit longer. I think it was worth like hundreds of millions, and now it's worth like single digit billions, if not tens of billions. Where is it worth? Let's see. XLM. I might have missed it. I thought it was worth like a few billion. Oh, there it is. So yeah, it's worth 7 billion, and I think it was worth hundreds of millions at that point. But I also believe there was less supply out there. So I can't remember exactly where it was because I could have swore it was up in the dollar areas. So I think I, no matter what, would have lost money because of the dilution that happened over time. But I had XLM. I have HBAR currently. So I like both of them because they're both utility projects, ones that you can hold for a while, hold for a long term, and say this can be utilized here, this can be utilized here. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't choose between the two, even though I have HBAR. So maybe it's like I chose. Um, I see. I can definitely see. For me, a lot more popularity in HBAR in the conversations that I've been a part of. But again, that may just be subject to what I've been exposed to. I've also seen some popularity, a lot of popularity in XLM and like-minded coins, right? So that decision is totally up to you. I'm not going to tell you what to choose um, because if I ever was stuck between two projects, which I have been, I just find a way to own both. Whether it's slowly investing into both of those over time or investing into one heavily and then the next month investing into another one heavily, right? If you are choosing between those are your utility projects. Don't choose one or the other. Believe in both of them. Silver at $83. Wow. I don't know what it was before that. I haven't been tracking it, so I'm guessing that's good. Lunic Dash, best Lunic swap and staking platform. So if XRP is worth more than Bitcoin, then I only need 10 or so to become a millionaire, right? So when I say worth more than Bitcoin, you have to look at the total worth, not the the dollar value, right? Not like, oh, this is going to be $100,000 or $200,000. I think Bitcoin is going to get to multiple $100,000 level. And Kathy Wood believes it's going to get to $1 million, right? Whatever the case may be, XRP is going to be worth more market cap wise than where XRP is, or sorry, than where Bitcoin is. So, and where XRP is currently is because it's at $120 billion market cap. Um, but I truly believe with XRP's use case and potential implementation, um, I believe that trillions of dollars is a no-brainer for XRP. Multiple trillions of dollars, if not a $10 trillion market cap there. yeah, you'll see a lot of other things that take up space as well, and XRP might hold 40% value when it comes to the market, and Bitcoin might be at like 20%. But if it's at 20%, we'll potentially see multiple tens of trillions of dollars for the overall market cap for cryptocurrency. 30, 40 trillion dollars. XRP went down to only $2.03. Okay. It did. These influencers making their best scenario on the case of XRP. It's not the best case scenario. The best case scenario is all of the above that actually happens, right? All of the above. We're talking about like major adoption. We're talking about use as a form of payment for at least 50% of currencies, right? And we're talking about, all fiat currencies. We're talking about cross-border payments and that heavy use there. Is it going to take over 25%? Is it going to take over 100% of cross-border payments? Because it makes sense, right? You're talking about speed, efficiency, security, everything that we want to happen to know that you get it. Yes, you would have to double, triple, quadruple check your numbers because those numbers may yield. I gotta go wake these kids up because it's time for them to go to school. Those numbers you may end up sending to somebody else if you don't double, triple check, quadruple check. And the same thing goes for wiring your money, right? Banks like quadruple check that, have multiple people check over it, make sure that you know things are going to the right people, but it can happen within seconds. So you really don't have to like have a time frame to where you're like, I need to send this through now for it to actually get there within 3 days or 5 days. Now you can say, all right, I'm going to take 3 hours to double check everything that we could possibly have here in order to send this money over here. But it's going to happen within seconds, you know? So best case scenarios, yeah, you can throw out those best case scenarios. That's why I always have levels to where I'm going to accept prices beforehand. Because if it was a guarantee, if it was a guarantee to get to $1,000 per coin, guarantee, no doubt about it, nobody else doubted it, everybody in the world said this is getting to $1,000. Wouldn't the hype alone get it to ridiculously high levels? Because it's guaranteed no matter what. It's currently at $2. It's guaranteed to get to $1,000. What is everyone doing? Everyone. They're buying up XRP. If someone told you that, nothing is 100% a guarantee. So when I see and know that markets you'll see the ebbs and flows of the market, I want to invest into that and then go, where are my selling points? So when I look at my exit plan, people ask me, why do I have an exit plan to where I'm looking to sell some of my XRP? I'm looking to sell some of my XRP at a level of $5, right? Why am I looking to sell it at $5? Oh, there it is. I don't know why I was looking at this price. This is the unrealized gains. That's why I was saying that. So $40 price point should be around a $2 trillion market cap. Anyways, so if it gets to a level of $5, why am I selling 25% of my XRP? Because I know that while the best case scenario is that we see everything happen, the worst case scenario is we don't see everything happen, right? We see bits and pieces of those things happen, but XRP still has a major use case in the world and has a large company like Ripple to back it. So $5, no brainer. Taking my initial investment, taking some profit, and then as we move forward, I have other prices to hit. A $10 price point, a $20 price point, up to a $100 price point. That's all that I really want to see, right? I don't need to see anything more than that. However, with my forever balance, if I do, I continue to see 200 and 300 and 400 and 1,000 and whatever, like anything after that. So yes, We're looking at the best case scenarios. We're looking at the worst case scenarios. We're looking at everything in between, and then we're gauging our exit plan off of that. And if you don't do that, you are not set up to have a successful investment, because it's not a all or nothing type thing. It's not a lowish price, accept that price because you're at a massive gain type thing either. Because there's so much room in between for it to be so much more than where it stands. You know, I'll be right back. I have to go wake these kids up. I'll be back down here until about 7:30, and then we will either end the stream or continue it depending on the volume that we have in here. But make sure you guys hit the like button. We got 47 likes. Also hit that subscribe button, and if you guys want to check out my link for BTCC, I have a link for that in the chat that I just deleted it. That's that's stupid. That is dumb. All right, I'll pin it. But I will be right back. If you want to check out my link for BTCC, feel free to do so. The link to that is in the chat. And yeah, give me a few minutes. I'm just going to go wake them up. I'll be right back now. La 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 la. Doom doom doo doo. My voice actually feels a little bit better. I don't know if you know, I said this in the beginning of the video. My daughter played a basketball game or two basketball games yesterday, her first two basketball games of the season, and she did an amazing job. She's in third grade. She plays third and fourth grade basketball, and she did an absolutely fantastic job. First game, she scored 4 points out of 11. And then the second game, she scored 16 points out of 22. So she was on one for that second game. And even to the point at the end of the game where we had 12 seconds left. And I was like, the ref told her, she was like, we have 12 seconds left. Just hold the ball and get it across half court, and you're good. She decided to hear there's 10 seconds left. You have to score. So she got the ball and immediately took off and ended up scoring. Not a buzzer beater, but she shot the last shot with like maybe 1 second left, and then the buzzer went off, and she's out of a minute she scored 6 points, and I was like, "What are you doing?" Like I wanted her to just control the ball because we didn't have a girl in there to control the ball. We wanted to get everybody else in, and she was just. I was like, control it and move it around, and just like stay away from the basket, right? Just run the clock out, basically. She decided to score 3 times in a row, and I was just like, what? Okay, it's good for the highlights, I guess, but I don't know. Let's see, where are we at? Um, are we able to hold XRP in Tangent Wallet? Not all wallets have the same network and coin support it. I believe you can in Tangent Wallet. That's the isn't that the one with the ring or something? Isn't that's the one with the ring? Yeah. So you can I know one of my old coworkers also has a Tangent Wallet. I believe he has XRP. So yes. I hold it in Ledger Wallet. Um, and you can pretty much hold it, I would say, everywhere. There's not many places that it's not available in. I'll say that. How come XRP isn't going up? I see videos popping up all over YouTube. I'm new to crypto, so you're not always going to see an investment go up. There are a lot of people that are maybe in disbelief as well. You don't have everybody invested into the crypto market, but also the market really still functions off of the movement and success of Bitcoin at the moment because Bitcoin still has like 60% control of the market. So majority of that money, majority of the movement, unless it's truly altcoin season, flows through Bitcoin, right? Um, and if Bitcoin is down, everything else is down. If Bitcoin is up, typically you see other things that move up. However, altcoins tend to have more of a reaction to those movements. So if you see Bitcoin up by 1%, you may see XRP that's up by 5% or up by 10%. But it doesn't mean that it has more of an impact than Bitcoin. It's just the percentage of what that market cap is growing a little bit more. So um, you're not always going to see the markets skyrocket. You understand their worth and what they can be used for, and then over time, you'll see them grow in value and be have more of an impact to the market. So it's not going to go up every day. There's probably more days that it drops than it does increase, but it's just the increases are so large, and or those that I guess we could say that the increases are so large. The drops are also, we've seen them drop by 20, 25%. But when we do see those increases for XRP to go from 50 cents to $3.65 or so, for sure that's hundreds of percent. You can earn like staking XRP or something like that in a certain way one day. I would love to be able to do that. I don't think there's many options for staking XRP at the moment. I would like to be able to stake it where I'm holding it forever. That would be fantastic to then just continue to add more XRP to my collection, especially how much I believe in it. Um, but yeah, I'm doing that with certain ones. I think Cosmos, I have it staked. Um, CRO, I have it staked on the crypto.com platform. BNB, I have that staked. I have Solana staked. I have Ethereum staked. Um, there's some others as well. Thoughts on Canton? I mean, I haven't heavily looked into it. I know a bunch of people have mentioned it to me and said, hey, you should probably, you know, look heavier into this. I don't like when things get to levels that I'm not saying that they haven't been before, but levels that for me it felt like it came out of nowhere because I haven't reviewed like the second and third page for a while. Um, but let's go in here. I believe it's at a multiple billion-dollar market cap, right? $5.34 billion market cap with $28 million worth of volume, a very low volume to market cap ratio. The unlimited supply maybe does scare me a little bit, not knowing how that's being diluted or if it is being diluted at all. Let me change this to the chart. Because over whatever time it has had, which is November, we really have only seen this kind of stay flat, right? Which isn't a lot of time. It doesn't give us a lot of information on whether they are going to dilute it or if there's any chance of that. So you would have to do your research into it. Right now, I don't have the time for that. So seeing the market cap move, you really saw this at a $2 billion market cap, and now it's sitting at a $5 billion market cap. So there's not really much to go off of, right? It's been at a multiple billion-dollar market cap for its entire existence on coin market cap. So it's not really much to say this is at its lowest or this is at its highest. So it's something that kind of scares me in the same way that Luna scared me when it was at a $40 billion market cap. I was like, I can't do that and fully believe in it when it's at a $40 billion market cap. You know what I mean? But again, it takes research to fully understand something and to fully get behind something, and I haven't done that, right? So maybe I'll have to do a full video on it if I put out a poll and people want me to do a full video on it. I can fully break down what my research process will be, what I see as positives and negatives within it, and then go from there. But it really all depends on what's the demand. It doesn't seem like there's much demand for coins outside of the ones that are popular right now at the moment. But yeah, I would love to break that down. This guy's whack with his fake titles. Dogecoin will be worth more than XRP. No, no, will not. But you can have your opinion, right? Your opinion is fine with me. It's not gonna hurt me, whatever you say. I have like super thick skin. Um, the only thing that really gets to me, which you can use if you want, and then I'll just kick you out, uh, is talking about somebody's character and who they are, as well as talking about someone's family, whether it's my family or anyone's family that's in the chat. It's messed up, and um, it shouldn't be said, right? I don't care. You can talk about me all you want. Like if you talk about where I've come from and my morals and all that stuff, and you're wrong about that, I'll be sort of upset about that. Not to a point where I ever fully care about what you said. Um, but yeah, throw it at me. Let's see what you got. And then if you got something that I feel like is a bannable offense, I could just ban you. That's what's great about being the person in control here at the driver's seat. I can just go, hey, I don't want to hear from you anymore. I usually don't do that though. I give people their time. Um, I just heavily invested. I just heavily invested. I think XRP hasn't really done anything for 10 years. Penny stock. So you think because XRP hasn't done anything in 10 years that it's a penny stock? It has definitely done a lot in 10 years. I don't know where you've been. They haven't done anything when it comes to use, if that's what you mean. The growth has been insane in the last 10 years for XRP. I thought I already had it up at the top. So if I go to XRP and I look at all history from, let's even look at from 2017, which again, 2016, 2017, we're looking at 60% of a penny, 50% of a penny, up to the prices that it's at now. So what was it? 58% of a penny where it started to $2 now, we're talking about 34,000%. 34,000%. Let me go over here. Let me look at a calculator. Let me go $100 times 34,788%. So $100 times times 347, right, is 34,788. Over that time period, you would have been able to turn $100 into $34,788 dollars. Just adding that and going, okay, I can turn. That doesn't even add up. I don't even think that worked. Sometimes I swear, quick math is not my strong suit. Seems like you would just add 2 zeros to the end of that. Well, I guess you're looking at a percentage, so maybe it does add up. Yeah, you have turned it to $34,788 just by putting $100 in there. If you believed in XRP, now if you consistently invested and you somehow, especially at that level, do you know how much XRP you would have been able to get? So let me go ahead and do that. So 100 times point. Divided by 0.005874. You would have gotten 17,000 XRP for just $100. You know how much a million XRP would have cost? One, two, three, 1, 2, 3. Million XRP. That's not it. I put $1 million. I don't want that. $10,000 would have gotten you 1.7 million XRP. Like, you don't understand. If you had, and there's some people that have had the ability to invest in before 2017, before that breakout that we saw up to the $3 level. Do you know how much you would have had and how much you would have made if you would have just invested a few thousand into that? Like, it's crazy. 58% of a penny. If you invested $5,800, you would have had a million XRP coins. And there are some people that have hundreds of thousands, like high hundreds of thousands. I've seen somebody with 900,000. I don't know where they are now. I'm sure they sold it at $3.65. It's a lot of money. Right? You're making multiple millions of dollars in whatever you invested. Of course, you can do whatever you want with your money, and it's great to see that growth. Great to see how much you can make. So you're saying you didn't know about you didn't know anything about crypto in the market back then? So I knew very little, right? When it comes to 2000, I think it was 2013. When I was in college, 2013, someone brought it up to me. In 2014 is when they were telling me they were invested into, or they were looking to invest into Bitcoin. I think it was 2015. 2015, my graduation year from my associate's degree in business. Um, that's when I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, it went to 20,000 and then went back down to 2,000, whatever that year was, that was the year when I was first exposed to the the word Bitcoin, right? Didn't know what it was, didn't understand it. All I knew was the dollar. Nobody wanted to explain what it was because no one knew what it was, right? Especially the people that were around me. They were all college students, but they were getting their information bits and pieces. Um, but I knew about it, and people said, "Hey, it's down to $2,000. You should probably put money into it." If I put money into that and it went from $2,000 probably to 20 or 25, I would have sold. So even if I did know something at that point, I would have gotten greedy and sold because I was an inexperienced investor and I only cared about being able to gain a heck of a lot. And if I can gain that much in a shorter period of time, I would have taken it. So now I look at it as I can gain something short term, midterm, long term, ultra long term, and I look at that and go, I need to take profit in bits and pieces because that's the way the process should be. um, you gather during the lows. Um, you gather during the lows and you find places to sell during the highs. But it sounds easier than it actually is. Let's see. Define anything. I don't know. However, anything is defined. If growth and done something with price, keep minus. Howdy from Canada. Thank you for watching. XRP is garbage in terms of price. And I own some. It'll never be worth more than Bitcoin. Think about what's your title, and stop being mentally lazy. I'm not. It will be worth more than Bitcoin, market cap wise for sure. That's where the worth comes from. When you talk about a value of a company, you don't go, oh, the price of their products are what their company is valued at. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. What they're valued at is the entire valuation of the company, right? If they're worth $300 million, the company is worth $300 million. That's where the value comes from a company. So when you have a cryptocurrency and you have market cap right in front of your face, the value and what it's worth is the market cap. It's not the price. Did I say the price will be higher than Bitcoin's? No, the value, right? What it will be worth. It will be worth more than Bitcoin. It's not mentally lazy. Your mind is just working in a lazy way because you only want to see price. So when you come through and understand the value of a company, the value of a cryptocurrency, the value of a property, the value of land, the value of gold, the value of silver, the value of anything, you're going to value it by market cap. 1,000%. Really, it's at $2. Hence a lot. Hence a lot. Class, it has a penny stock. That makes no sense at all. $2 is a penny stock in terms of stocks. Whatever the actual definition of penny stock is, the stock market and the crypto market are two totally different things, right? Though 10 years, no, you're heavily invested, not me. Okay, that's totally understandable. You can have whatever opinion you have about a cryptocurrency. If you believe in something else, or you just believe in the stock market, believe in the stock market. You can be one of those people that never decides to change or innovate, right? I feel like there's many people out there that are that same way. They will never decide to move on to something that they don't know. And that's why you see wealth that is drained. Whatever wealth you do have. If you have $200,000 or you have $1 million that you're like, all right, you know what? I can sustain this and I can, my children can live off of it. No, that's not going to be the case, right? what you invest into and what your kids and your kids' kids will invest into will be completely different. Yes, we will probably always have technology, I would imagine, because we're always looking to innovate. We're always looking to change things. Obviously, not you. Um, but but yeah, I think you have to be willing to change and adopt newer and fresher markets and things that are happening behind the scenes. Because if we all stick to one thing, if we all stick to this way of investing, which is still great, investing into the S&P 500 and doing that for the long term, and which I have a portion of my money that is associated with that. And while I am making money from cryptocurrency, I have more and more money that's going over to traditional markets. But you still have untraditional markets and non-traditional markets that will provide you with potentially massive returns on the decisions that you make. Did we just get out of an SEC attack because of fear from the global finance revolution or not? Inevitable, you can only delay what's coming. I did not know. I didn't know anything about crypto market back then. Man, why was I not blessed back then? Even if we were, it's all about the mindset that you would have. And I fully believe that my mindset was not mature yet to where if I saw a $2,000 potentially go to $4,000, I would probably sell that. So even if I was in it um, and hype about cryptocurrency, I probably wouldn't have lasted a month. I definitely wouldn't have lasted a year. So I'm glad, I'm sort of glad that I didn't get started then because I didn't have the money to invest then. And I would have treated it as a gamble rather than looking at it as a long-term gains and believing in the markets overall. I wish I had the maturity, right, the mindset that I needed to have. Like even when I think to like when I started driving later in life, right? I grew up poor, so we didn't have anything, right? I ended up buying a car. I had a car for a while before I actually went and got my um, license. I had a permit for a while and I was driving around. But I'm grateful that I did get a car at an older age because I skipped all of the years of kind of experimenting and more about like I'm driving this car not because I want to go fast. I'm driving this car because I want to get from A to B. I don't want to ride the bus anymore to go to work, right? That's kind of what I wanted out of it. That's definitely what I wanted out of it. Um, so I think, and I also knew that in order to get certain jobs, I needed to be able to drive. And my first job was like 10 miles away from my house. I'm not walking or taking a bus 10 miles. So, um, 10 miles away, I would drive there, go to work for, I believe it was like 8 months before I moved on to the next position, which was a non temp driven accounting position, but it was also 50 miles away. So I went from 10 miles to, actually, I'm lying. It was like 30 miles away. It was 50 minutes. Um, so yeah, it was 30 miles away. And yeah, I started again driving the car because I wanted to go from A to B. But it's the maturity mindset. If I drove when I was 16, there would be a lot of, hey, let's race. I want to go fast. You want to see my car? You want to see what it can do? All this other like that's not something that I needed, right? And I think the same thing for cryptocurrency. I didn't have the maturity to hold on to an XRP at 50% of a penny. I didn't have the maturity or even the know-how to hold on to Bitcoin or Ethereum or XRP at these stages. Wish I did, and I wish I could have, because what I would have done if I had that mindset, I would have bought a smaller amount, maybe $100, maybe $1,000 worth. I would have sat on that and put that to the side. then I wouldn't have touched it. I would have found it years later and I would have had millions of dollars. But then I also could have done this thing short term with whatever position I wanted to hold. But, and you know what I really wish I would have been able to find is somebody within college that was saying, do we want to mine Bitcoin? Because if that was the case, then yes, we would have mined Bitcoin consistently. I wouldn't have had to buy it. I would have just kept mining it as the best way that I could, and then I would have probably been able to develop that mature mindset in a way and go, okay, this could be worth a lot more. Let's put 1,000 aside, and we'll just play with this over here. But I didn't have anybody with going to college. You expect to run into some people that actually mined it, but or were mining it, but we didn't. Right? We had people that was in business class. In business classes, it was more about obtaining it rather than mining it. You know, um, I feel like that would have been good. All right. Anyways, I gotta go give these kids some breakfast. Um, Trading is risky. You're like the coolest college professor of cryptocurrencies and explain investing in layman's terms. So thank you for calling me the coolest professor. And I don't know if you're asking me to explain investing in layman's terms. It's very simple. You're buying a position into usually you're buying into a company. I gotta go, but you're give me a second. You're buying into a company and hoping that that company is valued at a higher rate in the future, and your money also grows with that company. Now, it could also be in real estate. It could also be in um, commodities. It could also be like it could be in a lot of different things. But I'll be right back. I gotta get these kids some food. So, so I got about 10 minutes and then I'm gonna go do their hair. 10 minutes and I'm gonna go do their hair. And I'm gonna get off stream. So, been on stream for about an hour and some change. So, um, you're saying no way XRP will not be worth more, I guess you're saying, than Bitcoin. Again, that's your opinion. You know, it's what I believe in and what you believe in can be wildly different, and that's fine. I'm not going to shame you for whatever you believe in. If you believe cryptocurrency is going to zero, you can be that guy, and I will be perfectly fine with it because it will never change the way that I feel about crypto. Um, I felt a certain way, and I was on the other side where I didn't understand or want to understand cryptocurrency. And then once I started to dive into it and getting to things that honestly are very, very complex and some things that I still don't understand and have to take multiple days to fully understand where they're coming from and what they're doing, how they would be implemented in today's world, in tomorrow's economy, right? Um, it takes time. It really does. Trading is risky. Uh, Kids see these people making millions, never people getting burned heavily. Get rich quick, not get rich quick, not that simple. Yeah, I don't think it should ever be like, oh, I'm trying to get rich insanely quick. There are some instances to where that does work, but it's not 100%. If you have 100 people that are invested in the cryptocurrency, maybe you have one that has a massive play off of something that no one saw coming. You know what I mean? Maybe it's a Shiba Inu, maybe it's a Dogecoin, maybe it's a dog with hat, whatever it is, right? It's a project that somebody decided, oh, you know what? This is at a low level. I'm going to buy this, and this is going to skyrocket. They make a ton of money, and that's 1 out of 100. That's a 1% chance. It might even be less than that percentage chance of doing it. So the expectation should never to go into cryptocurrency, which I see a lot. People come to me and they're like, I want to turn $1,000 into $100,000 today. And I'm like, what? First of all, if I knew how to do that, to turn $100 or $1,000 into $100,000 today, don't you think I would do that every single day? It's not that easy. And I will explain to people, day in and day out, that it's about time in the market versus timing the market. And even while you have time in the market, it's great to find the best times to invest. If you see a very low time in the market, let's say you're investing into the stock market, you're investing into the SPY, and the SPY drops by a heck of a lot. That's a time when you shouldn't have a standard investment into the market. Maybe you should have a little bit of a hefty investment in the market, right? And then as it's getting to its highs, you have your standard investment. Maybe it's $10 a day, whatever it is. But the next week, let's say it dropped down to, let's say it was at 500 and dropped down to $50, or sorry, $450, something like that. Well, now you have the ability to invest in at much lower than a lot of the days that you invested into. So why not double, triple, quadruple down and put more into there as something that is an ascending investment? So it's all about how you see it. Sheer moment, sheer momentum and popularity could boost XRP to $20. So it's silly, really, to be so absolute about the no. I agree. It does not make sense that, and I don't think they're 100% absolute. I think behind the scenes, those people that are also like, oh, I don't believe in XRP, are also invested into XRP because they know deep down in their heart that this could be a massive play, right, for them. If they look at it as a long-term utility project, then great, right? They can see that. But most likely they're going to have something for the short term just in case these people on YouTube, this person on YouTube is right. You know what I mean? So Um, I've seen people that have done that where all of a sudden they've changed up. I see the comment history and it's absolutely hilarious because I have history of everyone's comments. So if you put a comment on one of my videos, I can see all of the comments that you put before that. And it's hilarious to see the change up of some. Some people will be the same way throughout, which is great. And then the last comment that they'll have for like say when XRP ran to 360, even to today, some people that didn't believe in XRP at 50 cents no longer comment and have since, not like uploaded any videos on their YouTube channel as well as commented on other people's stuff. So it's pretty funny in that case. But there's also the ones that say like are so strong. XRP is horrible. It's the worst thing in the world. It's going to zero. You're stupid. Blah 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 blah. And then it gets to a point where they're like, you know what? I took time to look into XRP and I saw the value that it can bring. And honestly, it does look interesting. It's like they watched a bunch of my videos that they commented on, realized that all these things were happening, and then they were like, you know what? Maybe he's right here. Let me change up a bit. He's not going to know. He never responded to me. Well, guess what? I did, and I see it, and it's hilarious. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that. But the change up goes all the way to them saying XRP all day. I now have 10,000 XRP or 20,000 XRP in my possession. Go XRP. From going from this is going to zero, you suck, it's horrible, to go XRP, you're the man, Matt, is wild. Absolutely wild. And um, I'm all for it, right? As long as you take accountability, like say, hey, I was wrong. And there's some people that do. You see that transition where it goes from I think it's a bad play and they bring their reasons why to then going, well, asking me questions and I respond to them because it's their questions are more in depth and it's never like this sucks, full stop. It's like, okay, why? Tell me why you think that is the case. Well, let's discuss it. And we go back and forth, and then all of a sudden, they're like, okay, I see the value in XRP. I decided to get some of it to see what it can do. And then I started to average into XRP. I now own 10,000 to 20,000. You know what, Matt? You were right about this. XRP looks really, really good. And everything that I researched tells me positive things, right? That's the transition that I want to see. But it's just funny looking at some of them. When I see somebody that's so negative and it's like it's horrible and Matt, you're the worst person in the world for even suggesting this, to calling me like the best investor, the best person on YouTube or something like that. I'm like, that's a crazy change up. Like they're throwing strikes with those change ups. Anyways, guys, I have to get out of here. So I appreciate everybody that spent their time with me here today and was able to talk XRP and give me their opinions, whether it's negative or positive. I appreciate your opinions. I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate all the likes as well. If you do have time, check out my link for BTCC if you guys want to trade XRP up to, I believe, a 500x leverage. I wouldn't recommend that. I would recommend somewhere around a 2x leverage for something of XRP's stature because you can go so far with a 2x leverage over the long term. But you can also trade, 10x leverage, 20x leverage on various other projects if you see the opportunity. If you sign up using my link, you will get a 10% deposit bonus. You can get extra bonuses up to $10,055, and you can trade up to 40% lower trading fees. Feel free to check out that link. It is down there in the description. I'm going to get out of here. I'll catch you in the next one. See ya. Anybody that's watching on X and Twitch, I appreciate you guys as well. Sorry that I didn't get to your comments, but I do appreciate you for watching.